28 years after its return to Chinese rule, has Hong Kong's role as a global economic, trade and financial hub changed or challenged? The numbers speak for themselves. According to the United Nations World Investment Report last year, Hong Kong remained the fourth largest recipient of foreign direct investment globally and the second largest in Asia, trailing only Chinese mainland. Back in 2019, foreign capitals began to retreat from Hong Kong for obvious reasons, but with the enactment of the national security law in 2020, stability has returned and so has investor confidence. Why can Hong Kong continue to attract global capital and maintain its competitiveness? Why does investment between the mainland and Hong Kong keep growing in both directions, and how can the city live up to its reputation, in the words of its chief executive, as a super connector between China and the rest of the world? I'm pleased to be joined from Hong Kong by Alpha Lau, Director General of Investment Promotion at InvestHK. Alpha, welcome to the show. So let's look at some bright numbers. A total of 223 firms have invested over 20 billion Hong Kong dollars. That's about $2.6 billion US dollars in Hong Kong in the first 4 months of this year. That's nearly doubling the amount of investment for the same period last year, as data from Hong Kong show. How has the investment in Hong Kong continued to grow in recent years? Is that the picture we're looking at?
For sure, and thank you for having me here today. I think the investment in Hong Kong in the past few years did get affected predominantly because of the pandemic effects. But in the past 2 years, as we came out of it, it's all looking very bright. Overall, Hong Kong continues to be a springboard for Chinese companies going overseas. And it's also a very main gateway for overseas company going into China. So we are a very strong financial center, a trade and logistics hub, and of course a free trade center. And so the investments flow going through Hong Kong, whether in terms of actual companies setting up in Hong Kong, expanding their business, or in terms of actual fund flow going through Hong Kong for further investments into Asia and China, has seen a significant growth. Now, the numbers you mentioned earlier were the actual number of companies and FDI brought into Hong Kong, helped by InvestHK, which is my government agency that directly helps companies set up or expand into the region. But the actual broader numbers of the total stock of foreign companies or non-Hong Kong companies in Hong Kong has continued to grow. As at end of last year, for example, the number is 9960, and over almost 10,000 non-Hong Kong companies. That's a historical high. And so we do foresee that this trend will continue to grow despite some geopolitical shifts, because companies would need to look to basically make money, right? And what best place to do but except to be in a hub in the middle of Asia, which is the fastest growing region in the world at the moment.
Well, we understood the effects of the pandemic, but also of the unrest that gripped Hong Kong surrounding the amendment bill. And fortunately, the following year, from our perspective, the national security law was enacted for Hong Kong and it took effect. While the Chinese General Chamber of Commerce, Hong Kong, said the national security law helped stabilize the business environment. The U.S. 2024 investment climate statement says that the PRC's imposition of the national security law on June the 30th, 2020 undermined Hong Kong's autonomy and introduced heightened uncertainty for foreign and local firms operating in Hong Kong. What exactly happened? What is your take?
Well, I think after the 2019 unrest, we did have a shift in the sentiment from foreign investors, not counting Hong Kong and Chinese ones. So, but at that time was mostly inquiries or the concern that the unrest might cost the business. The actual figures did not really slow down a lot per se, but I have to say, because when it comes to investment expansion, you're looking at longer term. So the sentiment at that time was negative in that because, for businesses, we need certainty and we need stability to do business. That's what they all say. And there's enough instability in the financial world already without these added insecurities. So whilst the sentiment was indeed quite kind of skeptical at that time, the introduction of the national security law actually brought stability to the region, for sure, for Hong Kong, and for a lot of companies that actually gave them the stability they needed to then further expand or to confirm the investments. So with regards to the other sentiments you mentioned, so earlier this year, for example, the American Chamber of Commerce did a survey in Hong Kong, and over 70% of the companies surveyed, the American, said that the national security law did not really affect them negatively. If anything, it brought stability to their investment decisions, which are frequently longer term. And over 60% of them said they will actually increase their investments in this region, in Hong Kong and into Greater China. So I actually feel that the national security law has brought stability, in fact, to Hong Kong, and made the environment far more investable for a lot of companies.
That's really quite a dramatic shift of events, isn't it? I mean, in the beginning, when the national security law was about to be introduced, there was so much fear, right? Everybody was talking about Hong Kong losing its freedom, losing its investability, and now we're actually seeing people investing in Hong Kong because of the national security law and the stability that it has brought. Am I seeing it correctly?
Yes, I believe you're correct because initially, of course, people would be concerned about the national security law because Hong Kong introduced it quite late. Every country or region around the world, most of them have some sort of national security laws, but most of them were introduced decades ago. So I think when we first had it, it wasn't helped by the rhetoric at that time because of shifting geopolitical considerations. Then there may be some rhetoric in the media, foreign media, etc., that would point in otherwise. But in reality, because of the national security law, the Hong Kong's general situation was more stable, and like I said earlier, all companies need stability for their investments to be further improved. Because for most companies, if you look at your investments in a certain region or to expand your business, you're looking at a longer term consideration. You are looking at 10 years, 8 years or longer. So it is essential to have stability not only in the business environment, but also a lawful safeguard of what made Hong Kong so competitive over the years, that they will stay.
Let's talk about the special advantage that Hong Kong enjoys. I mean, Chief Executive John Lee Ka-chiu has repeatedly called Hong Kong the super connector between the mainland and the rest of the world. How has Hong Kong been leveraging this role as a super connector, and especially when it comes to investment, linking companies from around the world with the mainland and in other parts of the world, such as ASEAN, Central Asia, and the Middle East?
Yeah, Hong Kong has a very good geographical location. We are right in the middle of the whole Asia, and of course we have got a world-class infrastructure and transport over 150 destinations by our flight alone. So that is the underlying fundamental benefits of Hong Kong's geographical and fundamental location. Now, of course, we are also the world's #3 top and #1 in Asia financial center. Very important as a conduit for fund flow and free capital markets. With all businesses, fundraising is very important in fund management. So we're very strong there. Of course, recently we've also been voted the world's freest economy, as well as the #3 in the world for foreign direct investment. So what do all these numbers mean? Is that Hong Kong being in China but having a one country, two systems. We have English as well as Chinese as our legal language. We have a common law system very familiar with for the international companies. Hong Kong is a free trade. The whole area is a free trade zone. We have no tariffs on most items except hard liquor. So we are very good as a conduit to do business in. So what we have been used as is for mainland Chinese companies, when they invest overseas or expand overseas, very typically they go through Hong Kong first as a springboard, which allows them to further connect them to the rest of the world, us having the one country, two systems, and the fact that the Hong Kong's professionals are far more familiar with the international way of doing things. So my organization, Invest Hong Kong, for example, other than bringing Chinese companies into Hong Kong, we actually help them go overseas. My counterparties from around the world, the investment promotion agencies, work very closely with us. And we actually physically bring companies on our visits and delegations to bring them over. So in the other direction as well, so foreign companies wanting to invest into Asia, particularly into mainland China, is still the fastest growing region in the world. GDP is still over 5. You don't really see that kind of opportunities of growth in places like Europe now, for example, which is a little bit troubled by conflicts in the region, etc. But for foreign companies, they like Hong Kong because we're very international. It's an easier to be familiar with as a way of life, and it's a very good financial center to park your money, and as a regional headquarters to then as a quick reaction force to then deploy your money or deploy your investments around the region, particularly into China. So I do foresee that Hong Kong is and will remain a main conduit as we actually increase the trade and investment flow.
The Hong Kong Monetary Authority has said that Hong Kong has served as the main source of and springboard, as you said, for channeling funds and technology into the mainland, accounting for about 50 to 60% of all foreign investment flows. Now, I understand you are not just talking about Hong Kong being a springboard, but bringing Hong Kong's road to a higher level, a new level. Going forward, how will Hong Kong take greater advantage of its position and its resources to play an even more pivotal role connecting the mainland and the different parts of the world, both investors and destinations?
Sure. Hong Kong's main position, I think our biggest strength is that we are a global financial center. We've got a very large exchange, which is very important as a conduit for fundraising, particularly for Chinese companies, increasingly more technology companies now using it as a platform. As you expand overseas and as you scale up, you always need capital. So we've got a very complete financial ecosystems all the way from earlier scale PEs, VCs, all the way to our stock exchange. So our role is that you mentioned earlier, a lot of funds flow through Hong Kong into China and vice versa. Hong Kong is very unique because we are very connected to the mainland by having a series of Stock Connect, Bond Connect, Wealth Connect, etc. systems that allow for greater and ease of capital flow and investment flow between China and the rest of the world. So this is, and we are also the largest renminbi offshore center. So as we increase our investments overseas from our Chinese enterprises, as we expand our reach, we actually foresee this road to grow. In my visits, for example, to a lot of countries, like a few months ago to the UK, they actually mentioned that, do you know, Hong Kong is the largest source of foreign investment into the UK? So, of course, I'm not actually surprised because included in it is the investments of a lot of mainland Chinese companies using Hong Kong as a conduit to further go overseas.
Global gateway, indeed, not just a Chinese gateway. Finally, Alpha, time being very limited, I'm so curious. You are the first Chinese director of the agency of investment promotion at Invest Hong Kong. How do you view the significance of your appointment? What unique perspectives have you brought to this agency besides the leadership, personality I've seen so far?
I think, let's put it this way, the significance of being a Chinese person is actually overshadowed by the fact that I've actually been in the private sector. I've been a banker most of my life before I joined the government. So I guess what I could bring to the table, as it were, is that I'm very close to the market. I know what the customers need, because when you attract investment into Hong Kong, you need to be able to look at the side of the story from the client's perspective. So what could you bring to the table? As in, what business could you bring them? What capital? What other ecosystems? What help could you bring them? So this is where I'm coming from. So what I foresee is that going forward for Invest Hong Kong, we will actually increase in a role as actually a two-way investment promotion agency, not only into Hong Kong, but also into the rest of the world, so that I could bring Chinese investments and expansion out, as well as foreign money into China. And looking forward, the Hong Kong will become more and more of an important gateway between China expansion, go global, and the rest of the world.
Thank you so much, Alpha Lau, and congratulations to the wonderful work you've put into making Hong Kong known to investors and to ordinary people as well. And bon courage for the future. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
My exclusive with Alpha Lau, Director General of Investment Promotion at Invest Hong Kong of the SAR. With that, we come to the end of this edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin. As always, you can follow me on Facebook and X using the handle Liu Xin in Beijing. On behalf of the whole team, thank you for watching. You've got the point.